Where's the beef? You guys put
Where's
out a great beef survey, and I was really and did you? It was done with Angus Reed. Did you do that on purpose? That was a breed of cattle. You had to choose Angus Reed.
Oh my God. This is the first time I actually thought about that.
Yeah.
I never actually made the link between the two. Well, as you know, Michael, Angus Reed is one of our great partners at the lab. And we thought about going to field to ask what Canadians about beef consumption. Because as you know, last episode, we talked about Epicurious's decision to ban beef from its new recipes. And we also heard from very well-known restaurants going vegan as well in recent days. So we thought, well, it's barbecue season now, and I know you're a big fan of barbecues. You have, I don't know, a lot full of barbecues, yeah, and you're not much of a beef eater, but we thought, well, do Canadians have a beef with beef, essentially?
Hmm. Yeah. And it was a great quick study. It was a good read though, and a couple of things jumped out at me. So, 92% of Canadians are beef eaters, which I guess it wasn't a high number. I don't, maybe it was higher than I thought. 92%. 60. What was interesting, 65% are regular beef eaters. That was the data I was looking for. Okay, every now and then I eat beef. 92% get that. 65% were regular beef eaters. The one thing I thought was really interesting was when you started breaking it down regionally. So, and some were no surprise. More people eat beef in Alberta than BC. No surprise there. One thing that surprised me, I'd love to get your thoughts on it, is in the province of Quebec, there was the most concern when people thought of it about the environment connected to beef. And that was one of the provinces that said, that could throw me on the not eat beef side. Did that surprise you at all that Quebec would be thinking like that? Quebecers would be thinking like that?
Not really. I mean, both BC and Quebec are probably they're in the same boat here when it comes to the environment. BC is the vegan capital of Canada. One vegan in four, 25% of vegans in Canada actually live in BC. So it's a huge.
Yeah.
I mean, beef consumption in BC is clearly an issue for a lot of people. In Quebec, no, there's
Yeah.
been, I mean, there's been a lot of talks, discussions about the environment. As you know, both BC and Quebec, they both have had a carbon tax for more than a decade now, more so than any other provinces, and so they are more inclined to think about the environment naturally. And of course, that thinking is clearly impacting how Quebecers are seeing animal proteins in general.
It was a big number, right? 54% are concerned about the environment when thinking of beef. It made me think of two things, the study. You may remember back when Ronald Reagan, way back when, and they were starting to talk about global warming, and he said, it's just the cattle. And he was kind of mocked for it, but he wasn't entirely wrong either. Just picking a piece of data out. But you and I know that there's a full circle of both nutrition and a full circle of the environment. Is this a story connected to the environment that the cattle industry is not telling well enough to Canadians? Because it seems to be, aside from some health issues or a little bit of, squeamishness, that seems to be the biggest issue connected to beef right now.
Probably, I would agree with that. I think, I mean, the older generations, I don't think there's much happening there. It's the younger generations, the
Yeah.
Zeds and the millennials. They're really thinking about this very differently, and of course, they're overwhelmed by the messages coming from lobby groups, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. I was, as we talked about this 2 weeks ago, I was a little bit concerned about Epicurious's rationale. I mean, the decision for them to ditch beef is entirely their decision. It's a business decision, but saying that we're not including beef anymore because of the environment is a bit misleading. It's like saying that all cars are made the same way. I mean, beef can be
Right.
produced in many different ways. I mean, we did talk about Angus, but there are different breeds, different practices, different
Yeah.
environments, different protocols. I mean, and frankly, grazing and producing beef has been part of our agricultural ecosystems for a very, very long time. And when you think about
Yeah.
the outputs, the manure, and everything else you need to make sure that both animal and vegetable proteins survive and grow. I mean, beef is really in the middle of that. The challenge, of course, is that beef is a very expensive animal protein. That has come up. It's not the first time we actually survey Canadians on beef consumption, but clearly, Michael, for the first time, price is there. There's the environment, animal
Mm,
cruelty, health. We get it,
yeah.
but price is creeping up there.
Yeah, particularly I saw for those with household incomes of 50,000 and below are more inclined of the trifecta to substitute out, right? Go to chicken or go to pork. I just bought a couple of steaks for the household from a great local butcher, Cumbres, and they raised the beef and the pork, but it was $100 for two ribeyes.
Yeah.
But they were like spectacular, best ever, kind of like, I rationalize that because very easily because at the end of the day, if you went to a restaurant, you would be paying much more than that. So